the Neon Confidential podcast.
Is this thing on?
If I mess up, I can edit it.
That's actually a perfect introduction. We were not planning on doing a segment like this. Over the years, I guess what the podcast is 2 years old now, people have sent me DMs specifically when I post, and they say, you need to do a podcast on your own. I find it incredibly, maybe I think it's obnoxious because it would be hard to be having a conversation with no one sitting across from me. So I would like to introduce everyone to Chelsea Downey. She edits the podcast. So she's obviously very familiar with like me on a mic, the little intricacies I make, but also she is the vice president of Neon PR Studios. She's been with me for 8 years. So truthfully, like we know a lot about each other's personal lives just because that's how it goes. Like you spend a lot of time with your work family, even more so than your actual family or whoever your partner with is at home.
I think I would consider myself too like an instigator in some of your dating escapades because I'm like, if you feel that way, maybe you should tell them, which is kind of why we started talking last week on your stories about something recent that happened.
Yes.
And I think we're going to dive into that today.
What had happened was some of you might notice that there is a charcuterie board in the middle of the table. So we were not going to do this podcast, but the impetus for it was last week I was in my office and I posted a story I haven't done in a long time. And to be honest, the reason why I stopped being so talkative on my Instagram stories was because it was like people really do pop off and chime in a lot. And I'm like, I'm busy. I can't be on my phone all day. And so I stopped doing it. Because normally when I meet people, and you can confirm this, I meet a guy and I'm like, nope, he's my husband. And then he moves into my house within 3 months and I'm a serial dater. And it's not like, and we're together usually for like a year or two, but I didn't date for 2 years. Hold on, Zena. Sorry, guys. Because the charcuterie board is in here, we're not going to even edit this out. My English Mastiff security dog is literally outside of this door, just like drooling and whimpering because she like wants the charcuterie board. All of this is going to make sense. Bear with us. Again, it's a new format for the podcast. But the reason why we started it was this guy that I was dating, which we'll get into, is his name. And it doesn't matter if we drop his name because I think he pretended like he didn't know that I had a podcast. So at one point he'd come in here after we'd been talking for 2 months.
He saw The Office.
Yeah. He walks into the podcast room and he goes, "Oh, you have a podcast?" And I was thinking to myself, like, if you're trying to do the cool guy thing by pretending like you don't know, it's the opposite effect. And I'm not saying that I'm so cool that everyone has to know I have a podcast. I don't think that I'm that cool. But if you just Google my first and last name, which everyone does at this stage of like this era in time, the internet, whatever the fuck you want to call it. And so he's like, "Oh, you have a podcast?" And I was like, "Are you fucking serious?" But, you know, I was like, "Oh, yeah, I do." Long story short, back to what we did. I was just dating this guy and I was thinking, this is just not my dude. This is not the guy for me. So I'm in my office and I post on my Instagram stories and I said, "Guys, this is for guys only. Please chime in. How would you want a girl to break things off with you respectfully? Like, what would be your ideal way of doing that?" And literally within minutes, there was at least 30 guys that all responded, and it was just things were popping up. So Chelsea's in her office, which is next to mine, and Chelsea's like, "Wait, what the fuck is going on?"
It's because it's like we're on Instagram for work. So of course I'm like going through, and anytime Megan posts a question box, it's crazy. Like the DMs are wild. She only probably does some of the PG ones and the ones that are okay. It's truly magnificent what people will reveal in some of those boxes. So I just want to give that context too.
Yes. So then I come out of my office and we spark up this huge conversation in the office between me, Chelsea, the rest of the employees about the reason why it's hard for girls to be honest with a guy. And you recap this part of it.
I think there's multiple things, and it's interesting just to be dating in this current era of dating because I think guys are always like, oh, I shoot it to me straight. And I think they're not prepared to deal with the real answers. Like women have been preparing their whole lives to be told, you're not my type, you're not pretty, or I don't like this about you, or whatever. So it's a little bit different when we receive it. But men, if they get anything, it's just like anger. Like the reaction is always really negative. And so it's like funny that men are always like, oh, I want the truth. It's like, you don't even know what the truth is. It's the same as like makeup. Like, oh, I love when a girl looks natural. It's like, that's a full beat, baby. Like you don't know what natural looks like.
Right.
Because girls have just adapted to the environment. So now it's like guys are catching up and they can't handle the truth.
They can't handle the truth. The majority of the feedback was like, it needs to be truthful, but it needs to be nice. Yeah. This story is going to be so jumbled right now, but here's what I'll start off with. So today I was working out as a 36-year-old woman and I blew out my back. I've heard stories about this and I was like, it's because they're not warming up. And I did. I blew out my back and I knew exactly the moment that it happened. And I was like, this is gonna suck. It was like a slow like tingle and spread out. I could feel it. So I texted Chelsea and I was like, I don't think we can do the podcast. I can hardly breathe. Clearly things are better. I've like taken some prescription strength Advil from my doctor that's down the street after my Botox appointment. All of this happened this morning. So we weren't going to do the podcast. Chelsea sends me a text message and she's like, you got something in the mail. So enter the charcuterie board. So I told my friend Brad, he's actually has interviewed me on the podcast before, which is, again, I've told people that this guy was like, you have a podcast? They're like, it's literally free information.
He could have known things about you. He probably could have surprised you with things that you've mentioned often. Like you're very...
the information lives there. Yes. So I told my friend Brad, who'd interviewed me on that episode, about what did. And what did was Chelsea and I were working an event for one of our clients, Las Vegas Weekly. And it was a tailgate, you know, and one of the girls, should I get like all the way in to like, why not? So and I had been on a few dates, and keep in mind that like I've told him I stopped drinking for a year. So like, that's not really my idea of fun. And 3 months into us talking, I like told him I wanted to go see this movie. And it was like, again, my idea. And I will give him some credit. He takes me on the movie date and he like paid for everything. It was.
Did he drink at the movie?
He did not drink it. Okay. And I was shocked. Ordered a Perrier. I was like, wow, he's a bartender and like, he just drinks all the time. Like he's called me really hammered in certain situations that I'm like, bro, are you serious? You're like slurring your words. And I was straight up with him. I was like, listen, when you get like that, it's not attractive. Like it makes me wonder as a woman where if I wanted to go out and have a few drinks and you did that, who's going to be taking care of me? Like that doesn't make me feel feminine. And in my natural role in life every day for my career, not because I want to be, but I have my parents, you know, paid for my college, but that's it. No one helped me start this company. Like I have to be in a very masculine role all the time. So when I'm dating someone, I want them to plan things. I want it to be their idea. I want all, whatever. So where was I in this fucking story? Oh, so we go see this movie, whatever. And I'm just like, God, I'm just not feeling it with this guy. I'm getting out of the car and he's like, what are you doing this weekend? And I was actually shocked that he was like even asking anything about me. And I was like, oh, I've got to work this event for one of our clients, Las Vegas Weekly. It's a tailgate. And he was like, oh yeah, invited me. Now, this girl likes girls, and actually she's a spectacular person. She truly is, now that I've gotten to know her. But there was a point in time when I didn't know her, and the only thing I knew about her was she was my ex-boyfriend's roommate and they had fucked. And she is a lesbian. Now like, oh yeah, invited me. I'm like, oh perfect, so you're gonna come to another free client event of mine, so you don't have to pay for alcohol, but you're going to drink. And I didn't invite you. This other girl that has fucked one of my other ex-boyfriends invited you to the party, and you sort of look like him. So this is going to be fucking weird for me, but fine. So he shows up to the event. This is the longest story ever. All of the charcuterie will make sense. So he shows up to the event. At halftime, Chelsea and I were there and we're like, let's, sit down and like enjoy ourselves and eat because we've been standing up, like checking people in and running around the venue and doing social media and all that stuff. So we sit down, was over at the bar by himself, and I texted him and said, hey, Chelsea, and I just grabbed a seat, whatever. Long story short, I decide it was like fourth quarter that like I wanted a charcuterie board. And I did get enough for the table because there was 4 people at the table, including and one of the girls from Las Vegas Weekly was like, let's ask for separate checks. I don't want you to have to pay for my food, which I thought was polite, right? I was like, yeah, no worries. Chelsea flags the waitress down and she says, can you make sure we all have separate checks? And so the waitress looks over at Sam and the other girl and goes, you two on one check. And she points at Chelsea and says, and you're separate. And now keep in mind, I'm sitting next to who I am dating this man. And she points at us two like this and says, separate checks. After he was eating off of my charcuterie board. Now, keep in motherfucking mind, my tab was $30.
Yeah, it wasn't astronomical. It wasn't something that was super fancy.
No, it was a charcuterie board and a cider.
Yeah.
A beer. That's what I had. And he said separate checks. Now, keep in mind, I am a little beside myself, but I was like, I'm not going to let anyone see me sweat. I'm just not hanging out with them after this. Like, this is it. I'm going home to like my dog and I'm going to hang out with my dog. If you can't just offer, like, or just make eye contact with me and go, don't worry about it. I'll get yours.
Yeah. Even as a friend.
Yeah.
Like I have Rob, shout out.
Yes.
Like if you listen.
Rob pays for my drink.
Yes.
Your friend.
Rob is my friend.
And you guys
roommate. Yeah. No sex. And he pays for my drinks. Jordan Chong. Like I have guy friends who just offer. And so it's crazy that you're dating, talking, whatever. That should just be an automatic.
Just offer.
And for an event that you came to. Like he clearly still showed up to hang out with you.
And you've been drinking free liquor for the past 2 hours at my client event and you cannot pay for a charcuterie board that you're eating off of.
Yeah.
That's on my tab. Unfucking believable.
Now I wonder too, do you know if he gambles?
No.
It would be really funny if he had like also placed bets. So it's like he's placing bets, having drinks, and then boom, we'll get this charcuterie.
No. So then... And I really was like, I'm not going to make it the deal. I'm just going to keep it moving. My client texted me and was like, should we just read them? I was like,
yeah, why not?
Read.
We've already gone.
How this goes. Here we go. Okay.
This is how sad it was, or this is how sad dating is right now. I didn't even notice. It didn't even click in my head that this would be an issue until Megan showed me this text and I was like, oh, damn, you're right.
Okay, so here we go. Sunday, October 20th, 4:04 p.m. Game's ending. Client text and she goes, ew, LOL. He didn't even offer to get yours or the tables. I said, correct. I just had the same thought. It's just so wild at this point. And she said her husband, we'll leave his name out of it, is on a cop salary and he always pays for my friends. I said, I am saying, girl, it's a no from me, dog. I need a feet sweep or nothing. I'll let him know next time he asks me to hang out. We just hugged by. He could tell he knows I'm being off and he's making this too easy for me. Like I literally won't lose a wink of sleep over this dude because you just cannot change a 40-year-old man. You just can't. And I said, I'm proud of myself for at least trying to date after 2 years. And that's the truth. I really am. So she says, I'm proud of you too. It's not an easy thing to do, but yeah, girl, he's not it. This is just feedback for all men. Don't fucking do this shit. I'm only reading these messages so that you can see what girls say to each other. She said, you deserve better. And I don't mean money-wise. For real. Just someone who has your attention, cares, wants to make you happy, participates in conversations, even if he has nothing in common, because he wasn't, by the way. I know you don't need me to tell you this, that all men suck and you're never going to find the perfect guy, but you will find someone who puts you first and tries. Even when her husband tries, it means everything to me. It will happen for you, but that guy is not it. Anyway, so blah, blah, blah. This goes on. Now back to the charcuterie board. So today, I told my friend Brad this story. Like I'm driving away. Well, we should back up to the parking lot. We're walking out and I give a hug goodbye, and he could just tell there was something off.
This is like written in a movie. Like just the transpiring of events for this was
You
pretty funny.
cannot make this shit up, literally. So we're leaving, and Chelsea was walking out with us at this point, and I could tell there was something that was off. But again, I hate throwing one under the bus. If you fuck up, show accountability. Hey, I could tell that there's something a little off. Can we talk about it later? How fucking
Send a follow-up text, be like, hey, that was weird, goodbye.
that was fear. Is everything okay?
Yeah.
Nothing. Don't hear from him. Now I'm pissed. And I wasn't really that pissed before. So I'm walking out to the parking lot. I'm telling Chelsea I'm dumping everything. I can't believe that was just so tacky. It was just, in a word, it was just tacky. If I'm like giving you my time, that is important to me. Do something to reciprocate back. So it was perfect timing. We come out of the elevator bank and I was like, God, do something. Open my fucking door, pull out my chair. And this dude rolls by in an Infiniti car and he has his window down. So he hears me say, Jesus, do something. Open my fucking door. And the guy goes, what door do you want me to open? I'll open any door that you need. Like,
He would have laid down on the ground.
leaned out the window.
And not in a weird way.
Not weird.
He was really funny.
It was funny and entertaining. It wasn't creepy. And Chelsea and I are just like dying laughing. So we kind of recapped the conversation. She's like, I didn't even notice, to be honest. That's how much dudes are just like, you know, not even, what is the word?
Oblivious?
No. Chivalry. Anyway, so I walked to my car. No shit. This dude backed his car in next to my car. Where if this guy is anywhere out there, he said, I don't want to alarm you, but I figured this was your car because there weren't any other cars on that level and we got out at that level. And he's like, do you mind if I get out of my car and open your door for you? And at this point, I'm like, this is hilarious. I'm like, yes, please. And he opens my car door and he said, no shit. Don't like whoever that guy is, lose him. Like, I'll open any door you want at any point in time. And this is normal standard behavior. And by the way, never open any of my doors.
I think that's another side point of dating now. That guy did that without asking for your number, without any expectation. That's the shit. Like,
Yes.
Don't do something because you're like, oh, I'm going to get a one-up. Oh, I'm going to do this. Do it because that's the nice thing to do.
And we're in a new era too, where like women just 50 years ago, we just got our rights to vote, to own companies, to
Open a bank account,
all
have a credit card.
And so we are in this unprecedented time where, you know, guys are now dating women that make more money than them, are further advanced in their career than they are. So like what we are asking for, and this is the point of this episode, is to do things that we can't do for ourselves. And not that like obviously I have two arms, I can open up my own door, but like it makes me feel taken care of and feminine, which is the point of a man. You guys are hunter-gatherers. You're supposed to like want to do these things to take care of a woman. And like, it doesn't have to be monetarily. In fact, at this point, I've accepted that it's not going to be, but open my door, pay for my $30 fucking charcuterie board that you're eating off of.
Yep.
What?
I think that's I can't remember where I heard it, but it's like each day is 100%, right? So it's like if I'm doing 90% one day because you can only give 10, then the next day when I can only do 20, that you know, like no matter what, the effort needs to be equal. It doesn't matter like where the effort is.
The effort needs to equal 100%.
Exactly.
So that's Brene Brown, by the way. She says that like her and her husband, she'll straight up come out and be like, hey, I'm operating at 20% today. And then he knows that he's got to be 80%. It's a give and take, that kind of a thing. And that's what I'm saying. I'm not going to sit back on my butt and like not take care of you as a man. But paying for my own charcuterie board is not how that's going to be reciprocated.
Yeah, that's just showing, hey, I can step up and, you know, you hung out with me at this event. You took time out of your schedule, which, by the way, October is literally always our craziest month. So it's like the fact that you're taking time out like is expensive.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, just do this little thing for me. It's just so nice.
Yes. Ask me if I want to go have a glass of wine with you after the event. Something.
Yeah.
So
can I walk you to your car? Like it's just like such easy shit.
it was little dick energy.
Like the bar is so low that would have been so fucking impressive.
Totally. And that's how it should be, which was my point. So my friend Brad that interviewed me on the podcast.
We're going to keep going back to that charcuterie.
Because we wouldn't be here talking about this if Brad hadn't sent this. So Chelsea gets something in the office today after I text her and said, blew out my back, can't do the podcast. I am hurting. And she's like, you got a delivery. I'm like, okay, open it. So it's this beautiful charcuterie board. We will flash you a photo of it with this note from Brad, my friend, who I am not banging. Sending love to the PR queen that stays on Slay, wishing you a happy National Publicist Day. Enjoy the charcuterie board, and it's Halloween themed, and Halloween is my favorite holiday, and everyone knows that. Enjoy the charcuterie board. I hope you adore. And the best part is it's one that you didn't have to pay for. And
that's definitely more than $30 because you don't do the ice, the shipping.
This was probably $150 if I had to guess. It's a beautiful board. But my point is that, like, when I have male friends who I've never had any sexual relationships with, and they are just there for me, they set this bar so high that any little fucking piss poor whatever this dude's trying to do, I'm like, get out of here. Like, it literally, I can't even believe I like hung out with him for 3 months, and it didn't really go beyond that. So should I read the text that I sent to him? I don't know if I read.
You haven't read it to me, but I think too, that's part of the missed part is the skipping the friendship part. No one's even building the friendship part of it anymore.
Which is what I thought was
happening.
Yeah. As he did say, we had
you have to hang out.
Yes. And we had a very serious conversation in the beginning. I'm like, I didn't come out and say, what are your intentions? I said, what are you looking for in a woman? I think his exact words were, I'm not here to fuck around if that's what you're asking. He said, I'm very into intentional dating. And I thought, wow, impressive. I said, I love that. What are you looking for? And he gave me a full list. So this is established that, like, this guy and I are dating. Like, it's not like, it wasn't a friendship, but I do respect, like, it went slower than I normally would go.
Yeah, which was good.
Which is good for
yeah.
me.
Like, we were just saying, just have fun. We didn't even have to go into the dating part, but.
Yes. Okay. So here's the message that I sent on last Friday. You ready? This big blue.
I know you sent the original text. So is this after?
This is the original text that I sent on Friday.
Don't ever fight with a publicist because we write for a living. So
and this is the point, is that it was such a well thought out. I don't regularly send messages this big. It's obnoxious, but I posted that thing on Instagram, got all this guy feedback that said, we want to hear it straight. We want you to be honest with us. We want you to give us feedback. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. So I was so intentional with this. I wrote this in my notes section, read it a few times before I sent it. So just know that that's the effort and the impetus. This is like direct feedback from my male Instagram followers that said, this is how you do it. So I took all this in mind, and here's the message. Good morning. She's dying laughing. Wanted to catch you before work to share some thoughts. I feel like our personalities are super complementary, and I respect you enough to be upfront. I'm leading with a compliment. I also trust that this won't be coming out of the blue entirely, but I would like to address what's been an elephant in the room for me. Not that you asked for feedback, but I do feel inclined to share that this is the longest gray area in dating I've ever experienced. 3 times we've seen each other have been at client events of mine. So again, he's showing up, drinking for free, not paying for anything for me. That's like what he considers hanging out. So 3 times have been client events of mine. Another 3 have been me sitting at the bar while you were working, which also, by the way, he never paid for my drink.
I forgot about
when
that.
I went to his bar, not once did he pay for my alcohol. In fact, one time my neighbor came in and paid. One time Francesco came in and paid. And the other time he dropped the check and I paid for it. But all 3 times he dropped the check. And there was like people that I knew that just happened to be there that picked it up.
No discount.
And aside from that, I think we saw each other twice, both of which were my initiation or idea, which is true. Both times that we went on a date were my idea.
You did see The Substance, though, so.
I saw the movie The Substance. But also, keep this in mind, too. When men's actions don't line up with what they say, it's another huge red flag for me. So that's what this guy specifically did. He knew I liked to golf, and he was like, we should go hit some golf balls. And I responded back so enthusiastically, and I said, I would love that. And he said, great, I'll make a plan. 2 weeks went by, and I don't even think I heard from him at all, like in 2 weeks. And then the other time he messaged and said, do you and Xena like to hike? And I said, we go every single Sunday. No follow-up. I think he thumbs up it. Never asked me to go on a hike. And keep in mind, both of those things are minimally expensive or free. Hiking is free. A bucket of golf balls and a bucket of beer, under $20. So like, this is not about, I need you to take me on a expensive 5-star restaurant. We're in those restaurants enough for work. It's about the effort. So back to the text. I said, for a while, I thought it was me, but it took me going out with 2 of my guy friends recently, neither of whom are getting laid, by me at least, and being immediately and genuinely complimented, having my doors opened, my chairs pulled out, and us sharing a nice meal together, to realize it's really all about who you make time for and how you choose to show up. It took you getting completely hammered to tell me you thought it would be a good idea for you to take me out on a date. And that was weeks ago with no follow-up on your end. After 3 months, we have yet to share a meal together or do any sort of activity, just lots of drinking. And he's 40. The movie we saw was my idea, and honestly, it was sort of my desperate attempt to you to hint that I do like to spend time with the guy I'm interested in getting to know. It wasn't until last Saturday when you were sending me photos of you at the Shriners Open that I realized even more so that you indeed have free time. You just choose not to share it with me. On a personal note, I have to be in a very masculine role in my day-to-day, not by choice, but because I have myself to depend on, unlike most women my age regarding their career. That's the last way I want to feel with someone I'm dating. All of the things I listed about how my dude friends treat me are things I look for from a man to feel feminine and taken care of in ways that I can't do for myself. And I do think I deserve that at a minimum. I think at this stage of my life, and also what you called intentional dating, remember the guy said that he was dating intentionally. This doesn't seem to have much intention, or if it does for you, it's not my idea of it, and that's okay. All of that said, I have been reflecting on our conversations, our schedules, and my own past experiences, being mindful of what feels right. Not that we've gone a whole lot beyond a friendship, but that's what I'm feeling. Speaking of intentional dating, I hope you'll understand. All hugs when we see each other downtown soon.
Great. But I don't know if he responded.
Oh, no. Here's what he said.
Okay, yeah. So this is all news to me.
I sent that message on Friday morning at 7 a.m.
Okay. And we're recording this on a Wednesday. So almost a week.
A week ago.
Okay.
He responds back that night at 9 p.m. And it's a meme of Samuel L. Jackson
the fuck up
that says, go on. And he says, ha ha. Love you, Megan.
What?
Who said anything about
this is love? This is what the fuck we're talking about.
Couldn't make this response up if you fucking try.
Here's how you should respond to that. Like, either say your piece in regards to it, or you could, if you're not interested in that, or if it hurt you in some way, it's also okay to just say, wow, I had no idea you felt that way. It was really nice meeting you. You know, hopefully when we see, like,
you could have responded anything. Let me finish this.
Yeah, sorry. I cannot believe that.
He said, ha ha, period. Love you, Megan, comma. I sincerely want to be friends. Hugs, ...
That would make me vomit.
But it also seemed like he was being condescending. For sure, I wanted friends. Let's hug. Because I said all hugs when I see you downtown. So I was like, oh God, did he take that wrong? So then he said, side note, I wanted the gif of Samuel L. Jackson saying, allow me to retort from Pulp Fiction, but I couldn't find it. So he's like making a huge joke out of everything I just said. So
there's a reason that he's single at 40 then.
I said, ... question mark. Weird. I don't think any of what I said was funny. Interesting response choice. Have a good night. And he said, it's not funny. I'm saying I want to be friends. I like you. You're funny. 3 exclamation points. I laugh with you all the time.
This guy, who are his parents? Does he have sisters? Because there's like a lack of emotional intelligence.
It's brothers. But like, I grew up with brothers and I'm emotionally intelligent.
Yeah, but you're also a woman. You're allowed to be sensitive.
At this point, admittedly, I should have just stopped. He had to have been drunk. That's such a crazy response.
He's probably got some friend in his ear who's like, oh, this is going to be so funny. This is going to be so smart.
Right. So I said, totally. You sound super sober. And I put 3 thumbs up messages. I said, this response is truly proving my point. I'm not friends with men I tried to date and banged. What I meant was I wasn't feeling anything beyond friendship because there was zero romantic gestures from you at all. But if I run into you downtown, I just don't want it to be weird. Super cool accountability about everything else I said, though. I'm going to turn my phone off for the evening. Have a good one. And he just never responded.
That is probably the most atrocious response. I could not have guessed that in a million years. I thought maybe he would just like thumbs up and run away, or like not even address it, but to like try to be silly with a GIF. Does he know he can just go to different places to find the GIF he wants? But like, what was his retort? Like, allow me to retort. Okay, now what?
Right.
And then he didn't.
No, the retort was him saying, love you. Like, what?
Don't use those words with me if I don't know you like that.
Exactly.
Like,
and it's just, it was the most creepy. It was just weird. It was awkward, weird, uncomfortable.
Now he's not going to be hugs downtown.
I mean, we addressed his drinking issue. Like, it was for real an issue. He called me like hammered and was slurring his words after he was like day drinking. I was like, bro, are you serious right now? And there's nothing against like different types of bodies. I personally work out every single day. I don't miss a day and I like to take care of myself. But he didn't have a belly like he was overeating or not going to the gym and like a little pudgy. His stomach was like hard from alcohol.
You don't have to look a certain way, but I need you to at least look after yourself, because I look after myself. I'm trying to live to like 132.
Correct.
So like, I don't want to live 80 years without you if we end up being together. Like, I'd rather live 30 years without you.
That's what we were talking about on my Instagram stories when we got on and popped off, is like the compatibility issues. Well, you said it better than me.
It goes back to how we were saying, like, women have gotten so used to meeting all their needs themselves. Now that men are dating women who have all these things, they've never thought about being compatible with people as much as women have. And so it's like, if I'm a guy and I go in the dating market, I assume, or I think that everyone's lifestyles are open to me. So it's like, oh, you go to the lake and you hike. Oh, well, I'm a guy. I can get you. Girls, when we think about it, we're like, oh, well, she doesn't like these certain things that I like. It's not going to work. So we won't even try. Guys aren't thinking about those lifestyle choices.
Is not on social media, allegedly. I didn't mind it, but like, he has an account. He just doesn't post. So my point is, you don't have to follow me on Instagram or any girl to know what she's into. I'm really not saying this to be like any sort of way. Look at my quads. Look at my calves. You know that I work out. It's contextual clues. And this guy doesn't work out. And for some reason, he thinks that like there's a compatibility thing there. And also like 40-year-old bartender. I was sober for a year. So the fact that he was even pursuing me, I was like, well, listen, like if he said he's into intentional dating, this guy might be sweeping me off my feet. There was no fucking feet sweep. There wasn't even a fucking toe sweep. There was like this guy, there is no lifting me up. He probably couldn't lift me up. I could probably back squat his ass, but like he couldn't fucking sweep me off my feet if his life depended on it.
But if he had ever followed up with the golf or the hiking, you maybe could have discovered that that's what he does instead of the gym, which obviously it's like, okay, then that's the same thing.
If you're active, do you ride bikes? Do you skateboard? What the fuck are you into? And what he was into was drinking. He doesn't consume the podcast, or he said he doesn't. We're about to find out. I'm going to be like, hey, welcome. You probably shouldn't have done any of that crazy shit. And also like you said that you don't use social media, or you didn't know that I had a podcast. So like, surprise, you were just playing stupid and I just served it back to you.
When my parents catch up, everybody, my hi parents, they're currently catching up on the podcast. This will be really funny because they love asking about Megan. They're like, oh, she goes diving in Grand Cayman. Why haven't you invited her? I'm like, well, we both can't be gone at the same time. I've told you this.
People do listen and we appreciate it. Like, the podcast is a labor of love. You know, we were calculating how many hours we spend on producing one episode. And it's like, by the time I book the guest, do the show notes, do the hour-long interview, and like coordinating schedules, I'm probably up to, 2.5, 3 hours at that point. Then Chelsea has to go back and listen to the entire episode, edit out any weird audible clicking noises, weird swallows. That happens. And then I go back through, listen to the whole audio again, which is another hour. And then I pull each clip, write out every single timestamp and the sentence, give it to another girl on our team who then splices up the clips, adds in the animations, the captions, all these things, the music. It takes about 10 hours to produce one episode, which is kind of one of the reasons why when people were saying like, you should go on, you should talk about stuff, I find it really weird to be talking into nothingness. The fact that you already know these stories makes it like a little bit easier. When she went on Instagram stories, I mean, really, I put the camera in your face.
Yeah, I don't love to be on camera, so this is a big step, everybody. So it'd be nice.
But what she said about the compatibility issue with men and women was like such a strong statement that people were coming back, specifically girls, and they were like, that is so true. Guys think that they can just hit on anything that walks, and that like without even taking into account the compatibility, like, oh, she's a this and I'm a that doesn't seem like our lifestyles are going to match up. Girls do that. Guys don't do that.
I feel like the last couple guys I've dated, and you probably know, I found that it's like the first couple months, it's really great. They're like, oh my gosh, this is so fun, whatever. And then like we're very busy with work, and I'm very focused on work, but I'm also focused with my family. Like I have great relationships with my family. I have a lot of friends that I keep up with on a regular basis. And I have found that some of the guys that I've dated recently, they only have like the one thing. And so one of the guys I dated, I won't say his name, but essentially like he ghosted me out of nowhere one day. And I was like, what the fuck? Like it was crazy. We'd been friends in college. And I think that had a lot to do with it. It's like you start dating in those honeymoon phases. And then when he realized that like he didn't have his career together, he didn't know what he wanted to do. He didn't have a lot of friends that he kept in touch with. So then instead of our lives like potentially coming together, it's you're getting sucked into my life because I have
All this
a rich one. Right. Exactly. I'm always like with my blinders on sometimes. So I think it's just a huge thing.
Right. And I don't want to make this whole episode only about because like I truly didn't date for 2 years. Well, it'll be 2 years next month. So really I went a year and a half, to be fair, without dating anyone. And then that was okay. Like I think I needed that time to like get back in touch with myself because of what happened whenever I moved a guy that I grew up with. I mean, I don't want to say I moved him out here. It was his idea. He came on his own free will to Vegas, but I went to high school with this guy, and that relationship fucked me up so much.
Which is the same kind of situation, right? You realize like personality wise, you're compatible. You can talk, you can do all those things. He came out here and realized that, yeah, didn't know anybody. His career was also kind of just like influx of what he wanted to do, but yours isn't. So yours has to keep moving. As much as you want to support him, and you do support them, like you can't like baby them. Right. You can't make the decisions for them.
Yeah. Like in everything I was doing to help him, I was doing it because I do that with my friends. I want everyone to be successful, I want everyone to win. And he just couldn't like wrap his head around that fact. So he blamed me for getting him a job that he hated, which now he's moved back to our home state and does the exact same thing, which is fucking crazy. That was like what our fights were about, that everything was my fault. He did not pay me rent when he lived with me, but I didn't ask him to. That was like, he took the risk. He moved his whole life out here, his dogs. I'm like, I got you right now. Like you'll have us later at another point. And we talked about children and marriage and all of those things. And I thought we were dead serious about it. So that, long story short, that like, I don't know if we'll ever get into, because that breakup was so horrific. It was the worst. It was the worst thing anyone's ever done to me ever. I needed that year and a half to just be alone and not, I don't know. I think people handle things differently, but it's taken me this long to get back into dating. I was also being intentional about it. And so I just think it's going to be helpful to tell men or women or anyone who's listening that like that situation with this guy, and this isn't to throw him under the bus. It's just, we're using this situation as an example of like, come on, step it up a little bit. It has nothing to do with money. If the girl makes more money than you, whatever. But like opening up someone's car door, offering to get their $30 charcuterie board, taking someone on a golfing date, a hiking date that's free. Like, and what I will say, there was a guy, maybe it was 5 years ago, and because it was during COVID. It was his idea to go on a hike, which is great. And when we showed up, me and Zena showed up on the hike, he made her her own little like breakfast box. Like it was like he packed us a picnic and made my dog her own little like breakfast burrito. The cutest thing, and it wasn't a fit, but like I stayed friends with that guy because like he wasn't the right fit for me, but he's gonna make someone else really happy. And I have no notes. I have nothing bad to say about that guy. He was so gracious when I was upfront and honest with him. Like I just don't feel it. And he said, "Thank you so much for your honesty." We're still friends to this day.
Yeah. The reaction, right? Like, okay.
Yeah, that really sucked to hear.
And
I appreciate your honesty.
And if it shocks you that you heard it, maybe you should have responded in a way that was like, oh, wow, I had no idea I was doing those things. But if that's his reaction, he's no closer to ever finding what he wants. So he can be as intentional as he wants, but if his actions...
I don't know if I know one girl that would take that minimal of an effort and be pleased with it.
Well, unless you're like, which I understand, if you're super lonely, and some people don't like being by themselves, you know, I do, which is probably why I don't want to date. Some girls are very, very desperate to have, and it's not a bad thing. Like some people are just lonelier than others. Some people like that stuff. And I've seen some of my friends take way less than they deserve, and until they kind of figure it out or they don't.
Yeah. And I think that's the message for women too, is that like really think about what's important to you, what's important to me. And it's the way that I was raised. It's the way that my guy friends treat me, just randomly sending me a charcuterie board on Halloween and also National Publicist Day. Like that's the bar for me. And my dad, like I have two dads, which is even like worse for guys because like they both would not agree with the guy not pulling out my chair, getting my door. And that was really what happened. I went to the rodeo with my friend Todd. I was like, hold on a second. So my friend Todd was like, hey, do you want to go to the rodeo? I know that you're from Texas and my friend owns this bull riding team. It was PBR called the Texas Rattlers. Come cheer with me. And I was like, great. We both got dressed up. Our cowboy, we were Johnny Cashing on these motherfuckers. Met him at the bar. He paid for our drinks at the bar. We go to the rodeo. He opened every door. And you know how like in Vegas casinos, there's like the 2-door situation where you have to like open one and then you got to hurry up and get to the other. It was like so smooth.
I recently saw a husband do that and it was like a short distance and the wife just like stood in the middle and he did it.
But that's what makes them feel manly, and God bless them because that's what makes me feel feminine. It might not be the same for other people. They might be hearing this and go, what? But that's how I was raised. My dad's opened my door for me like that. Every guy I've ever dated in Texas has done that. It wasn't until I moved out here where I realized that wasn't a normal thing. But I do appreciate that quality because it's free and I appreciate it. Like I'd rather that over anything else. So anyway, he opened every door. I pulled up my wallet and he said, don't be silly. I mean, because at the end of the day, it's not some crazy expensive thing. Like it's just a cocktail, you know, and I even wanted to pay him back because he'd taken us out and we were friends. But it was at that point, and then at the end of the night, I was like, him and his buddy wanted to go, we were sitting there and he was like, where would you like to go eat in the middle of the rodeo? And I was like, I didn't realize we were going to dinner. And he's like, of course, I can't send you home with an empty stomach. And I was like, oh. And literally, meanwhile, I'm dating this motherfucker who's not paying for my charcuterie boards. We go to dinner at Bavette's and I was like, do you want to split this? And he's like, don't be crazy. And then like him and his friend wanted to go out to Pinky Ring afterwards. And I was like, I had a great night. Todd sent me a text and was like, it was always so great seeing you. I always enjoy it. And was sharing a fact about Pinky Ring. And he's like, let me know that you made it home safely. And I'm just, it's free. It's all of that is free. And I can't tell you how like Todd and he's not the guy for me. I'm probably not the woman for him, but like he's going to make someone so happy. And I'm confident about that. It's like, these are just the small takeaways that I felt like we just needed to like
rant about.
Say it into a mic.
Yep.
You know? So I don't know if we'll ever do another episode like this. I think we'll maybe talk about it. I think eat the charcuterie.
I think it just depends how well dating goes. I don't even feel like I'm ready to take another 1.5 year break.
I truly am. I'm like, I get what I need from my masculine figures in my life being my guy friends. Mm-hmm. Like I get, and then everything else I get my vibrator. sorry. Sorry, Kelsey's parents who are listening. But
don't worry, I have never held back from anything around my parents. They cover their ears a lot when I'm around. It's fine.
But so I don't know. I don't know if we'll ever do any of these episodes, but I did feel the need. I thought it was just too perfect the way everything lined up.
Yeah.
With me being like, no, just kidding. I don't want to do it. Threw out my back. And then charcuterie board, friends,
sign from the gods.
Stuff. Yeah. I was like, no, let's sit down and let's do this shit. So I am going to be able to see and tell if you all like this episode because I can literally just look and see how many people have downloaded it. So like,
I already know this is going to be like one of the most popular episodes. Yeah.
I mean, I think we'll see. Like I said, I know people have been asking me to talk about it. There wasn't content for me to talk about. I think we probably will be polite girls and like remove the name just for.
We'll take names out.
I'll take the names out. And by we, I mean Chelsea.
By me, painstakingly.
Every time we see
beep, see? Should I put the beeps in there? And then it's like at the end of the episode, if you have counted the appropriate amount of beeps, you will win.
Not a date with charcuterie board from Brad. All right, I feel like that's a wrap. Do you need any?
No, I think that was good.
All right, y'all, let us know in the comments if you liked this kind of content. If you're like, would rather us not do this, go back to just interviewing other people who have more interesting things to say. But that's a wrap.
That's a wrap.